Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Bloodstone, a 4Dads 5th edition D&D game set in the Forgotten Realms. I am 8BitPonies, your dungeon master for the evening, and I have with me the rest of the cast, my favorite 5 players of the night, at least for tonight. How's it going, guys? Everything good? It's been a couple weeks since we've been able to get together. Storms ripping through the Heartland, and all kinds of bad stuff happening in the real world. But we're back together tonight to bring you some more Bloodstone. I don't have really anything else to announce this evening, so without any further ado, we will just dive directly into tonight's session. So, when last we left our intrepid group of adventurers, our party was reacting to a recent visit from the Wardens of the White Tree. Several members of the party were interrogated, I guess, or interviewed by a Captain Leif Gerbald of the Warden's faction within the Bloodstone army, a group of fiend hunters, I guess, or those who pay special attention to demonic presence or demonic taint within the Bloodstone Kingdom. With Captain Gerbald was a pain bearer by the name of Japhet Bogdan, who had some very specific questions for Eldrick about Makaria. And after a very, very tense interview process or interrogation process, both Captain Gerbald and Painbearer Bogdan left Oakheart with the strict instructions to Eldrick and company to not leave town, as they may have some additional questions. There were also some additional pieces of information shared with the Wardens of the White Tree, involving the recent encounter with the Drougg beneath the Shadow Gap, and the potential implications that may have for the rest of the kingdom because of the supposed involvement of Queen Christine Dragonsbane. A lot of things kind of up in the air at the moment. The party was able to, at last, split off again and go and get some rest. At least most of them. While it hasn't been enough rest for everyone to have replenished themselves completely, a little bit of sleep goes a long way whenever you haven't really slept terribly well in a couple of days. Remaining at Oakheart is both Eldrick and Makaria, who are currently at the breakfast table with the Lady Madeline Oks, Eldrick's mother. And when we left off last time, she had just revealed that she had had a nightmare the previous evening. That was not the first time that nightmares had recently kept her and the rest of Oakheart from getting particularly restful sleep. But this time, it was a different sort of nightmare, and rather than try to explain it, she merely had one of the servants bring in a painting that she had acquired of the city of Heliogopolis wreathed in green flame, and pointed to that as the subject of her dream. On the other side of town, or I guess a little further away from Oakheart, in another part of town, Sprout had a conversation with his, henchman or new friend, or I'm not really sure, his liaison with the undead beholder, Zaxiz, Dal Muckleberry Makito, who the previous evening, Sprout had sent on a fact-finding mission, I guess, or it's sent to follow and keep tabs on a particular party of individuals that they had encountered in the street in the Purse District in Heliogopolis, including the Baroness Sylvia Praca from the southern barony, or the barony just to the south. Oh, just lost a bunch of stuff here. Sorry. Technical difficulty there for a moment. The southern barony of Ostel. Pardon me just a second. Had some things playing in the background that were a little bit distracting.
That'll do it.
Alanere and Thoros'l, after having rested as much as they could, have also kind of split off and are doing their own thing. Thoros'l, at about midday, is going to revisit the Starry Night, a restaurant or a tavern at the confluence of 3 of the districts: the Castle District, the Coinholm District, and the Purse District, up on the city walls, overlooking the Castle District and the rest of the city, as one of the nice scenic positions in the city, where he had previously, the night previous, met with an old acquaintance, we'll say, not friend, not necessarily enemy, but an old acquaintance in Partic Wolfswift, aka Partic Talendar of Symbia, who was visiting the Bloodstone Kingdom once again as a new participant in the Heliogopolis Adventurers Guild, who has just started up within the last couple of months. We will start, I think, right where we left off, where we were at the breakfast table. Madeline has just pointed to a very disturbing looking painting and has indicated that is what I saw in my dream. And it is as I mentioned before, a kind of a landscape, almost as though it is looking over the city of Heliogopolis from maybe high up in the air in the Rise district, where a good portion of the cityscape of Heliogopolis is visible, but also the palace itself. Kind of in the foreground, you see the Palace of Heliogopolis, the Palace of Bloodstone, and it's kind of silhouetted against a dark sky where there are streaks of green flame that are showering down upon the city. The palace itself and the area around it is, in the painting, dark. More like caught in silhouette against the lights of the city. And when I say the lights of the city, I don't mean the normal hustle and bustle, the golden city, the city that never sleeps in this setting, which is always very brightly lit, but instead a city that is wreathed entirely in green flame. The one thing that draws the eye away from what is truly a horrific scene is a single shining figure standing atop a balcony on the palace itself, or off of the palace itself. That seems to be, it's just a very small bright spot in the painting itself. Vaguely man-shaped, but it does appear to be a figure, and it is a figure that appears golden against the darkness of the palace and the bright green of the flames of the city. And she looks a little pale as she is referring to it. She says, "I was standing there, looking down, well, not from this specific vantage point, but looking down over the city from," and she points to the palace.
You were on top of the palace?
And she points to the single golden spot on the balcony on the southern end of the palace. There.
Out of character for a second.
Sure.
I'm gonna suspect I'm not playing Makaria tonight, contrary to what the cameras on the stream say.
Oh, that's my mistake. I will get that fixed.
Wait, hold on. Do I get to be Eldrick then?
Toad's gonna email you my character sheet right now. Kidding.
Okay, I totally pooched something there. Sorry about that, guys. I will get that
we
fixed.
We both know you know things I'm not supposed to know yet. I mean, you know, that. I suspect that.
Wait, what?
We both know where the hammer is. It's buried under Death Goddess rocks.
Thank you for calling that to my attention. That has now been fixed. But anyway, that is where we are for tonight's session.
Excellent. I'm sorry. What did Makaria ask?
Makaria just clarified that if Madeline was on the castle and she pointed to the figure, and Makaria had a quip. Of course you'd be the golden light, Madeline. You bring joy everywhere you go.
She kind of gives you an appreciative glance, but the mirth of the moment is kind of lost on her a little bit, as you can see that this truly has her disturbed, and she kind of pats your hand, and then looks back to Eldrick, and there's a moment that passes as she is Makaria. You see her look at Eldrick, and there's a go ahead and make me an insight check.
Okay. Oh, it's been a little while since I've had to use. Oh, there it is. Okay. Here it comes. +6 to the roll.
Okay.
25.
25. At first you think it's fear, or worry, but it looks more like as you watch her, it's just an instant. Like she's looking at Eldrick. She turns from you and turns to face her son, and the moment what it says in your mind is not specifically fear or worry, it's dread, almost anticipation.
Interesting.
And she says, in the dream, it was you, Eldrick. The shining light on that balcony. It was you.
As she's saying that, Eldrick's already up out of his chair and looking the painting over. Had Eldrick seen this previously in the house, if I remember correctly?
Yes, you have actually seen this before. You were walking around the house whenever you first returned to the city.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for new art, I guess, and you did happen across this one. You didn't spend a whole lot of time looking at it, but you did note its appearance there.
That's right. I had meant to ask about it.
Yes.
That had gotten lost in the notes and the hullabaloo. So at this point, Eldrick is going to kind of grab the frame just to kind of steady it and see if he trips out and has some sort of vision. And then he's going to look over the painting to see if he can find a signature of some sort.
The signature is not...
Makaria...
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Nope, Makaria was going to just ask Madeline who painted it. Socially.
Well, the answer to both of your questions is pretty apparent almost immediately. When you're looking for a signature, Eldrick, and you find one, and as you ask, Madeline hesitates for a second as she's kind of still looking at Eldrick, and she seems to be lost in thought. And it's kind of a reaction to your question, a few seconds too late. She reacts, I'm sorry, dear. Well, this is actually an Alanere. That probably doesn't mean anything at all to you, Makaria, but Eldrick, you are familiar with Fendrick Alaren's work. He is or was a famous painter that is actually from the Kingdom of Bloodstone and has a residence here in Heliogabalus. You are also aware that Fendrick Alaren's father, I've got to look at a specific here. Fendrick Alaren's father, Reyes Alanere, is one of the High Lords of Morov, one of your bannermen. Now that you are a Baron, he's one of your immediate subordinates, one of 8.
You said he's a lord in Morov?
He is a lord of a thaindom in the barony of Morov. So, quick geography, a quick political lesson for you, because this is all stuff that we haven't actually discussed before. Each barony is ruled by a baron, obviously. There are 10 baronies in the Bloodstone Kingdom. Each barony is broken up into one or more counties, but they're referred to as thaindoms. And each of the thaindoms is ruled over by a High Lord. That's what their title is, High Lord. Each High Lord may have one or more, or even dozens of lesser nobles, lesser lords beneath them. One of which is your father. Not specifically. You know what? I don't know. I don't think Alanere is the High Lord that is over Oaks. But I don't know that off the top of my head. He might actually be. He might be your father's direct boss.
Gotcha.
But you are also familiar with Fendrick Alanere, as you've heard that name very recently. There's a woman who approached you in the temple, who was an old friend of yours.
Oh wait, was Fendrick or Reyes my teacher?
No.
Or, no.
No, Mira.
The lady that
Mira, the daughter of your tutor, married Fendrick Alanere.
Yeah, I remember her.
And you recently encountered her in the temple, and she had not come right out and said, but alluded to that Fendrick was no longer among the living.
What was the girl's name again? Sorry.
Mira Dennison. It's Dennison now, but it was previously Mira Alanere. Dennison would be her maiden name.
Gotcha. And Fendrick is dead.
Yeah. A second or third, a younger son of Reyes Alanere, which is one of the High Lords of Morov.
Is it Reyes or Reyes?
Raes, Reyes.
Okay. Excellent. And he's dead. That's not great. That makes it hard to do the questioning.
As you're thinking about this, and you're seeing Mira's face, and you're seeing how she was when she met you recently, she looked very tired. She was trying to help in the temple. She mentioned something about how she's on her own now because her husband died, or something like that. That now that Fendrick's no longer, and then she just kind of let that go. And
something about her father disowning her for something.
Her father didn't.
He was a painter or some such.
Yeah, her father didn't approve of the match, and yeah, so she's essentially on her own. She has no family to go back to. Her husband is gone, and her husband's family wouldn't take her in. You're actually, as you're thinking through this, you kind of are vaguely hearing your mother explain that she picked up these paintings recently from an old friend who was trying to sell them, and she was doing a favor for an old friend.
Who's the friend? If you don't mind me prying.
Oh, no one of any particular consequence. A daughter of a previous employee, Eldrick's old tutor, in fact. But
Yes, Eldrick will pipe up. Yes, I ran into Mira at the Temple of Ilmater the other day.
oh, did you?
She said that she had fallen on hard times.
That's what I had. Um, that's what I had assumed or inferred as well. The terrible thing about her husband, though I suppose that these paintings will increase a great deal in value in a short period. But that's so ghoulish to think of. My apologies for even bringing it up. It's really a terrible shame. But I did want to help where I could, and I felt like it was the least that I could do to give her some assistance.
How many paintings did you procure?
Actually, just this one and one more. They're both the other one is she kind of hesitates for a second. The other one is in my chambers, actually. I could have Shill fetch it if you'd like to see it.
He looks straight at his mother. A lot of curiosity in his face. I would appreciate that very much so. And then he goes right back to the painting, and he's looking for anything on it that, like a wizard symbol, maybe.
Okay. Make me a.
And he's not doing that alone. He is going to say a quick prayer to Ilmater and cast Detect Magic on himself.
Okay. So Shill, as you're doing that, Madeline calls Shill back over and whispers quick instructions for her to retrieve the river painting, she says, and Shill nods and toddles off to do what she's asked to do. Madeline gets very, very quiet, and she kind of folds her hands in her lap and is kind of not just looking down at the table, but just kind of kind of unfocused, kind of dissociating a little bit. She's just kind of sitting with a kind of a little bit of a blank look on her face, and she just looks just not upset, but a little disconnected, disturbed. You cast Detect Magic, and there is an immediate reaction to your spell.
I'm using my paladin powers to do that, just to be clear. Just to be super clear there.
Okay. Great. Then the where is the there we are. Let's see. You detect you detect magic on the painting itself. And it is, as you kind of focus in on it, there is an aura of illusion magic, and also a very faint hint of divination magic that kind of clings to the painting. Not like on the painting itself or within the painting itself, but just a faint whiff of divination that kind of clings to the painting.
Point of order.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I warded the entire thing against divination?
You did. Does that, and that would last up until this point. So, sorry.
24 hours.
I said that, but you don't.
Is the jury instructed to forget that fact?
The jury is instructed to disregard.
It doesn't dispel, but I'm just letting you know that, so technically, like, everything could be there, it just wouldn't be
Well, divination magic can't be cast or doesn't work within the bounds. So detect magic being a divination spell, nothing. You get nothing. Sorry. So yeah, forget that it's illusion and divination. Like you cast your spell,
Gotcha.
but you automatically feel that your spell failed.
Gotcha.
And it probably occurs to you then that, oh right, Makaria put up shields, and yeah.
That is correct.
Thank you for the reminder.
Yep.
Sorry, I know that spoils a lot, but
I mean, is what it is.
As this is happening, you hear the door to the chamber the door from the outside open up, and you hear booted footprints or booted footsteps approaching from the hallway.
Like military footsteps?
No, not specifically. Not okay. Like there is a kind of, well, make me a quick perception check.
Yes, that would be one of my
14
best.
for me.
14 for you. Okay.
1 second.
14 for Makaria. And for Eldrick.
Awesome. That would be a 14 total for Eldrick.
With a 14, you definitely hear boots, but they're not the heavy boots of like soldiers. And you don't really even have much time to really think about it, other than just your initial reaction, like, oh, what's that? And the Narble brothers round the corner with a female companion. This female companion is a gray-skinned tiefling that looks suspiciously like Makaria. And as you look up, Eldrick, Kemet catches your eye, and my lord, the package you requested has arrived. And he indicates the woman standing behind him.
Eldrick looks to Makaria.
Yes.
Your package, my lady?
No, my confidant, Makaria.
Makaria.
And Madeline, not even looking up from the table until Makaria mentions Makaria, she looks up and just kind of glances around, and her eyes get really big for a second as she sees gray-skinned Makaria standing on the threshold of her house, effectively. And she looks to Eldrick, she looks to Makaria, she looks back at them. Eldrick, you didn't tell me we were having other guests?
Well, I suspect it's a bit more complicated than that. Makaria, would you care to explain your friend here?
You keep treating her as if she's an object. No, this is Makaria. She is...
I said friend. I said friend.
Myself. She has knowledge and intelligence and a quick wit. She is, well, in any sense, someone to bounce ideas off of.
Well, Madeline starts to stand up and begins to move over to where the three new figures have arrived. Says, "Oh my goodness! Well, welcome, Makaria. She kind of looks back at Makaria and says, "Is she related? She looks as though she could be your sister."
And both of us will laugh almost at the same time. And Makaria will respond, "You could say that she pulled me out of a shadow, some might say."
And you see a dawning on Madeline's face. She looks at Makaria, and she looks at Makaria and looks back at you. She said, "Is this? Is?" And she's like, "I'm sorry. I don't think that I've ever seen a fully formed. Is this a simulacrum?"
And Makaria will bow, and Makaria will walk over to stand next to Madeline. And yes, this was out of the request of a bathtub and quite a few components. I was able to welcome Makaria to our plane through magic, and I hope that she finds a great place here with us.
And she possesses the full intelligence, and Madeline looks absolutely enthralled. She's looking her over. She's, I apologize, my lady. I don't mean to stare. If at any point in time I am, my curiosity is offensive, believe me, I have no desire to cause offense. It's just, I've read about this, but I've never actually seen it. Would you join us?
Neither have I.
Would you be so kind as to join us for breakfast? Is it okay if I ask you some questions?
Of course. And
Of a purely academic nature.
Makaria will almost like mirror what happened the first time Makaria met Madeline. Almost being like a brand new experience for her again. So it's very funny, probably.
Oh, yeah, Madeline cackles at that. She's startled by it at first, but then cackles. Like, oh, she did the exact. Oh, you are just a trip. You and I, and your sister are going to have a great deal of fun together. Please. And she hustles. She kind of pushes the narbles out of the way and grabs Makaria by the hand, or Makaria by the hand, and pulls her over to the table. Please sit, enjoy. Shill, another place setting, please. You must be famished.
I think Shill's off getting the other painting, yeah?
Yeah, she says that.
Yeah.
She's completely absent. But just completely enthralled and completely consumed by the presence of this gray-skinned version of Makaria.
While she is tittering and fussing over Makaria, Eldrick's going to look to Makaria and say, "Can you examine this? I suspect your field that you put over the house is preventing me from getting a closer look."
I can remove the field over the house if you would like. That would allow both of us to easily examine it.
I think that would probably be best.
So let me double check here, because I might have to do something.
You gotta sacrifice a chicken to end the spell?
I think so, but I just have to double check here.
Recasting takes two barmaids.
It just takes an action to dismiss it. So
okay.
you can do it with a thought,
yeah.
effectively.
So I will, just kind of look up in the air and, okay. And I will use Detect Magic to...
Okay. So your Detect Magic still... Well, your Detect Magic, Eldrick, would have failed, but are you going to recast it, or can you recast it?
Yes, I can, and I will. 2 eyes are better than 1. And it is a first level spell for me, so not that big a loss.
Got it. Okay. So then you both can now act on the information that I incorrectly provided you earlier. There is an aura of illusion magic, but also a very faint clinging aura of divination magic on the painting. And are you proficient in Arcana, Eldrick?
I'm pretty sure no, and the answer is no. Just history and religion. but not Arcana.
Makaria, you are proficient in.
Oh yeah.
Make me an Arcana check.
Oh, 12 with a plus 10.
Okay.
12.
You can tell, even with just a 12, you can tell that there's something about the way that this painting was constructed, or the way that the brush strokes work within the painting, that there's something hidden here. Not specifically masked by a spell, but something intrinsically hidden within the painting itself. You can't tell exactly what it is, but you can tell there's whoever did this was trained in Arcana.
Eldrick.
Indeed, yeah.
So I could remove these auras off of it. However, I don't know what might.
Did we lose? We lost him.
He does appear to be paused.
Oh, he's back.
I lost power.
Oh no.
Ruh-roh.
We got you back. We can hear you again, see you again, but it's all dark.
Okay. Makaria
Is this your Makaria face?
Oh yeah. My word.
So realistic.
She'll just oh, there we go. Either
he got him. The painting is shining in his eyes. He's got him.
I can dispel the auras, but I don't know what that will do to what could be runic magic, could be something underneath, like actually embedded with paint, or not.
Well, I don't know that we want to destroy the only thing in this house that appears to be a blaring clue. We might. I don't suppose you have a way to see beyond if there's illusion on it.
Not really.
Hmm.
I can remove it. That's more of my specialty. Divination beyond that does not really work for me.
Well, let us hold off on that for the moment.
Shill returns with a painting in hand that is actually covered. It doesn't have, like, it's not. She brought this one in. She just had it by the frame, and she's carrying it in and laid it on the table. This one appears to actually be wrapped like in a blanket, or like a quilt or something of that nature. And she puts it on the table, and she starts to unwrap it, and Madeline kind of snaps out of her fascination with Makaria, and she says, "No, Shill, thank you. I'll do that. Please retrieve some breakfast for the lady, Makaria." And Shill kind of starts at the command, Madeline raising her voice, but then she kind of bobs her head and hurries out of the room. And
Eldrick will raise an eyebrow at his mother, as that's a little uncharacteristic of her.
Yes, very much so. She pointedly does not look at you as she comes across to where the painting is laid down, and she begins to very carefully, very, very deliberately unwrapping the painting. And as she does so, before she actually unveils it, you see her take a very deep breath, and she hesitates for a moment, and then lets out the breath, and just kind of, not exactly wilts, but she kind of retreats a little bit. It's like a very, very long, deep sigh, and a lot of tension kind of runs out of her in this sigh, and she pulls the last obscuring part of the blanket away from the painting. And Makaria, for you, it is a rather unremarkable landscape. Another landscape very similar to what very similar to the other one. Obviously not, the subject matter isn't nearly as disturbing as the previous piece. You see the marking of Fendrick Alarin at the bottom right-hand corner, but it is a rather unremarkable landscape. Essentially, the foreground, or the bottom half of the painting, appears to be like a very, very blue, very beautiful looking river, and on the bank of the river is a forest road running alongside the river. There's really not much else to it other than that. It's just a forest road, like a road kind of running through a wood at the edge of a river. Eldrick, it is very different for you. You see the exact same thing as Makaria does, but it means a lot more to you. This is the site of that moment in your young life that defined who you are. The riverbank, the forest road on the bank of the Beaumaris River, where your world turned upside down. The ambush.
What was the name of the knight I was with?
Lord Percival Higginbottom. And as you look at this painting,
The river is the Beaumaris, you said?
The Beaumaris. It is you're maybe a half day's ride outside of the city of Heliogabalus, up the river.
Which direction?
To the north. To the north and
Gotcha.
to the west. And yeah, and you look at it, and it's not like a vision, like a magically induced vision, but you see this painting, and it all comes rushing back in for you. The memories of 13 years ago when you and Lord Percy were ambushed by goblins on this very stretch of road at this very spot in this very copse of trees by that river.
Well, Eldrick will take a step back from that one. But that it's just the location. It's not. There's no
just the location
chart. There's nothing on the ground or anything like that.
Not that you can see, but it's from a little ways off. You know, the perspective is from a little ways off, looking basically as though the viewer is wading in the river, or floating just above the river, looking up at that location.
Do I detect any magic on that one?
You do. It's the same illusion and divination that pervades the other one.
Are they linked? Does it seem like the divinations connect?
Make me another Arcana check.
I'm on digital dice. 26.
Oh yeah, okay. That's a natural 16 for a 26.
Natural 16.
16 on the die, yep. Wow.
Yes and no. So there's clearly the same sort of, you feel sort of the same frequency, as though it's the same kind of divination magic, but there's no direct link between the spell, the divination magic that affects one painting and the other. It's not as though they're threaded together on the same spell.
Listening,
It's like,
or cameras or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's maybe taken by the same camera, but not like taken it.
It's not a security feed back and forth. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, good news. Probably the same spells.
Yes. Eller's a little stunned for words. Makaria, you may or may not remember me speaking with Thoros'l about a a knight named, or a lord named Lord Percival Higginbottom. I'll be honest, I've told the story enough times that I don't know if I have told it around you. But the
just a second.
Sorry.
Madeline excuses herself. She says, apologies. Excuse me, won't you? And she leaves the room.
I am going to nod to Makaria to go out the door with her.
Okay.
I'd like maybe to offer comfort or, keep an eye on her.
Is anybody else in the room right now?
Shill is still here. No, actually, Shill is returning. As Madeline leaves, Shill is returning from the opposite direction. She comes and brings, she's got a platter of a modest portion of different breakfast type foods, and she kind of looks around, looking a little confused. But other than that, it's just you and Makaria at this time. The Narbles have left the room. Madeline leaves the room, and Makaria hot on her heels.
When Shill returns, Eldrick will say, can you please take that and follow my mother? I seem to have upset her.
She looks confused, but gives you a nod and looks around and kind of catches the swish of skirts as Makaria kind of rounds the corner and follows in that direction.
Eldrick will wait until she leaves, then look back to Makaria. This is where Lord Higginbottom and I were ambushed when I was much younger. The events of this are the ones that I've spoken of, having relived both in the opera scene in Celigot that I think I told you about at one point, although those events seemed quite different than what I remembered. But either way, the events that happened here ended up with me almost dying here in this very house, or so I've been told. He kind of looks to the door where Madeline went.
Yeah, she would have walked around the corner
Mm-hmm.
here and into this room.
And we're in the big room here, yeah?
You're sitting here at the big table, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Makaria was going to say something.
Just a question. Why this particular scene in this house? And obviously by the same painter. Are you sure that the story you have been telling everyone is truthful?
Eldrick will look to Makaria. No. When we were on the Illithid ship, I used their crown to look at my own memories. I've had some very disturbing memories of a friend. But anyway, and out of character for a second, correct me if I'm wrong, I could see the memories that I thought I had, but I couldn't see past them, right? Like there was like a blank spot between me seeing the goblins come at me and then after that, right? Or is that not what I remembered seeing in the crown?
You couldn't see anything before. You couldn't see that moment at all.
Gotcha. So it was, I could see right up to the ambush and then after, but not the event at it or
Correct.
Whatever would happen to the house or any of that. Okay,
Correct.
well then, Eldrick looks. So back to Makaria. when I used the crown, I could see up to and then much, much later after, but I could not see the attack or the part that I was told, which is that I was brought back here. So no, that entire story is suspect. And he kind of gestures towards the door that Madeline went, and I think something is being kept from me, something important. And I feel like the answer, among other places, might have something to do with these names. Master Irving, are you listening in on this?
Of course, Master. Of course, Baron.
Excellent.
Have you need of...
What do you do with these names?
I...
just positive he was like somewhere around.
He's standing right behind you. No, he enters the room from the servants' quarters, which is where he was very clearly standing, waiting to be acknowledged. And so he comes into the room, and his eyes go to the other exit to this room where Madeline left, and there's very clear concern on his face. But he keeps any judgment or anything out of his expression whenever he looks back at you. As you're requesting my critique on the art, I understand the painter is quite sought after. I've not my particular taste, but I understand that well, your mother was quite... He pauses for a moment, and his eyes kind of flit back to the doorway, and he kind of lowers his voice. When your mother, when the Lady Oaks acquired these pieces a few weeks ago, she was not unaffected. I was unaware that the second piece remained within the house. I recall, and he seems a little hesitant, as though he's dishing secrets that he's not supposed to, but I recall that your mother was quite distraught for a number of days after the visit of the young Mistress Alanere Dennison. And I suspected that it had something to do with these acquisitions. She instructed for the first piece to be hung in the family room, but I was not aware that the second piece remained within the house. It's very clear that this means a great deal to your mother, whether it is positive or negative. And he kind of looks again. And he looks at it a little closer, and he looks to you, and there's a clear question on his face that he doesn't voice. Is there anything else that you require, my lord?
Yes, my Lord Baron. Wouldn't it be practical, perhaps, if you make a list of people who are around on this day that we could maybe talk to? I'm sure he can round them up really quick if they are still within the house,
Well,
if you are so disturbed by it.
indeed, that is partially the question. Master Holy, we spoke about this previously. Have you had a chance? I know it's been very busy with the upcoming festivities, but have you had a chance to compile the list we spoke about?
I have, my lord. It is waiting for you in your chambers.
Appreciate. And this is very negative for my mother. This is where the attack happened. So whatever it is that keeps her from speaking about that night, that is likely why she responds to this painting in that.
He nods. Like, shall I have it removed, sir?
I don't think that's a good idea, Baron Oaks.
No, I agree. Eldrick's gonna cover it again. I assume touching it doesn't cause him to trip out or anything.
Make me... No, I'm kidding. Nothing...
Make me a will save. Congratulations, you're evil now.
Nothing about it affects you in a tangible way.
Alright, Eldrick's gonna recover it. Likely best if we return it to Mother's room. It is hers after all.
Are you sure you want divination magic in her room?
Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, if there's one that you are wanting to return to her room, perhaps that's the one to at least remove something from it and see what might happen.
Oh, seems like a terrible idea. Makaria, this one here with he'll re-uncover it. If we're going to accidentally ruin a clue, I suspect this is probably the one to do it on. Past events are what they are. Can you see what you can do with this?
I can remove one or both. My preference would be to remove the divination, since we know that is the same spell, more or less.
Yeah. I'm less worried about the divination. I'm more worried about the illusion.
Oh, good. Let's do that one. And she will cast Counterspell only on the illusion.
The counterspell won't do anything.
Oh, sorry, Dispel Magic.
There you go. Dispel Magic. And you're dispelling what exactly?
Only the... so I am choosing a magical effect. So I am choosing on that painting the illusion magic effect. Okay. So whatever little bit is there, just to take that away.
Okay. You cast your spell, and at first nothing happens. You feel the spell take hold, and there's a bit of a kind of a tremor in the air as the spell, your dispelling magic, kind of washes over the painting and meets the spell that is cast there, or the magic that is inherent within the casting. And for a moment, nothing happens. And then the painting starts to flake. Like the paint on the canvas begins to flake a bit. Just a little at first, but then it seems as though maybe the paint on the canvas is maybe experiencing some rather fast deterioration, and like vast swaths, vast brush strokes, the composition as a whole begins to gray, and the paint begins to flake off, and it starts to crumble.
Well,
maybe your friend isn't such a great artist.
No, I suspect the painting was intended to be used in a different way. That is unfortunate, but Eldrick's going to walk over to the other painting. So now, you said that the magic, at least from Makaria's perspective, seemed to be less an effect and more just like a way that it was painted kind of deal.
Just an aura. The illusion magic and the divination magic were not specifically like spells that she could recognize, or that even that you could recognize, but just an aura on it, as though illusion had something to do with the or had pervaded the the painting itself at some time. Divination was less so, in that perhaps the whatever divination magic was present maybe was a long ways off, or had only barely touched the painting and just left a little bit of an imprint, but not specifically in the creation or the existing makeup of the painting itself.
All right, well, just to be on the safe side, Eldrick's going to go pick up the other painting, put a hand on each side, look directly into it and say, I don't suppose you're going to show me the events with which you were painted to depict. Literally saying that to the painting. Weirder things have happened, right?
The painting declines to reply.
Yeah, that tracks. All right, well, I doubt that Mother will be super keen that we have destroyed one of them. So we'll just cover that back up for later.
We will take a moment and step away from Oakhart for a bit, and we will go to Thoros'l.
I'm gonna step away for a few minutes. Little baby bear came down here.
Yeah, sure. Thoros'l, you it's a few hours after you made it back to the Bloodstone Arms. You got an opportunity to clean yourself up a little bit, have some breakfast, rest a bit, and then you decided you were going to, about midday, walk out through the city and approach the Starry Night again, correct?
Yeah, earlier if I can.
Oh,
just okay. I don't need to rest. I've done all-nighters before, but eat some breakfast, then head out.
Okay. So then you find yourself on the somewhat now familiar path from the the Coinholm district over to the Purse, and you are very familiar with your destination. You've been there, you've been there recently. Not difficult for you to get there. As you are walking, just kind of taking in the sights and the sounds of the city, you'll notice as you approach the gate from Coinholm to Purse. It's the let me switch the map for you here just real quick so we can point this out. The specifics here. All right, so as you're walking kind of along the wall, and there's a street that runs along the wall the entire length as it approaches the confluence or the Triune Gate. And you have to go through the gate to Coinholm and then make your climb up to the Starry Night. You'll notice that when you approach, there is a significant Bloodstone Army troop presence that is posted outside the gates to the Palace District this morning. Like, when you passed through here yesterday, you had the gates were closed, and they had a handful of City Watch, the gold coins, or not the gold coins, the gold cloaks, or I'm sorry, gold helms. That's what they're called. The gold helms in Heliopolis were posted outside, and they were denying access to everybody. Today, the gold helms are nowhere to be seen, and there are more than a dozen Bloodstone Army regulars that are posted outside the gates.
Okay.
What do you do?
Well, I'm gonna pass by, but I'm gonna perk my ears up and see if I can catch any conversation about why they might be there.
Sure. Go ahead and make me a perception check as you go by.
Sure. 23.
23. It's largely the same kind of conversation that you heard yesterday. townsfolk approaching the gate and asking to be asking why are the gates closed, or why are the gates still closed. But the Bloodstone Army regulars are far less patient with townsfolk, in that they're taking no shit whatsoever from passersby, from the people that are asking questions, and they're very bluntly telling people to get lost. Not in those exact words, but by order of the what's the name? By order of oh no, even better. By order of what's the guy's name? What's the guy's title? I know his name. Apologies. I am looking. There we are. By order of Marshal Sebastian Killian of the Wardens of the White Tree.
Oh, okay.
These gates are to remain closed, and your presence here is infringing upon that order. Walk away. That's essentially what you hear from one of the regulars as you are as you walk past. You kind of perk up your ears and you catch that.
Okay. Interesting. Moving on.
Okay, so you make your way back up to the Starry Night. It's much easier to get in during the day, as it's more of a nighttime destination. It's still open to the public, but you will notice that there is a Bloodstone Army presence in the tavern itself. And these are not guards that are off duty and are enjoying themselves a pint. These are actual army soldiers that are posted on the balconies and on all of the overlooks, ensuring that nobody gets too close. And you are recognized as you come in, and you probably recognize one of the hosts, or one of the people that are working in the tap room. You're your friend's not here. Can I get you a table?
I was just looking for my friend. Do you know where he might be?
Well, give me just a second. I can go check with the manager. So that person walks out of the tap room and goes through a closed door, and you're essentially alone. There's maybe 2 or 3 other people that are there's maybe a bartender that's kind of polishing the bar and just keeping watch over everything. Maybe 1 or 2 patrons that are just kind of sitting and enjoying a morning drink or a morning breakfast, and we'll say a dozen soldiers that are just kind of positioned throughout the building itself. And there is a very tense atmosphere in the room. Like everybody's kind of, they may look up at you as you come in, but they're very quickly returning to their own very quiet conversation, or busying themselves with their food or their drink. And very, very marked difference from what it was like in here just 12 hours ago.
Great. I'm gonna go up to the bar. Either there's a bartender cleaning stuff, polishing. Almost uncomfortably near a soldier that is there.
Okay.
And motion for a drink.
All right. He nods at you. He kind of glances at the soldier that you're directly next to, and what can I get you, stranger?
Something bitter.
Sure. We've got I've got just the thing. he'll walk over to a handful of casks that he's got positioned directly behind the bar, pull a mug off of a rack nearby, give it a good wipe down, make sure that it's that it's clean, and put it under the tap and bring it back. It's a very dark, very frothy liquid that he puts into the mug, and he, that'll be 2 silver.
Right. I'll drop 2 silver on the bar and say, what not your usual clientele here. What happened around here? Gesture to the soldier about a foot away from me.
He kind of glances.
Fully indiscreet.
Yeah. Glances at the soldier, glances at you. Nothing in particular. We're happy to host His Majesty's soldiers. Don't mind saying it's actually quite kind of nice. Their coin spins just as well as anybody else's, and the soldier kind of gives him a look. And
Were any of them drinking at all?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the guy that you're standing near is not sitting at the bar. He's standing.
Yeah.
As and you being an old soldier yourself, you reckon that his position gives him a good view of the rest of the room.
Mm-hmm.
He looks at you, and he's not glaring at you, but he's definitely taken notice.
Sure. I'll look at him out of the corner of my eye and then redirect my gaze to the bartender. Yeah, they seem to be buying a whole lot around here. Looks like mostly just taking up space. His Majesty, huh? I wasn't aware the king was in town.
No, not. You're not from around here, I guess. No, he's His Majesty doesn't arrive for another few rides. They're saying big celebration planned for. Well, where are you from, stranger? If not from around here. We just lost somebody. We lost souls.
Oh, his camera's off.
He's back.
There he goes.
He's coming back.
Oh, out west. Far west.
That's so. Well, welcome to Heliogabalus. What are you here on? Here for business or pleasure?
Just here meeting a friend and wondering what all the soldiers are about around here. If the king's not in town, they seem to be a little occupied with the Palace District over yonder.
Yeah, strange thing that. Not hearing a whole lot. Yeah, we had somebody Badoom out, and we'll get
sold again. He's coming back.
We're trying to get him back.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get him back as soon as we can. But that's not working for him just yet. Yeah, it's pretty strange. It's not every day that they shut down the Palace District, but it's probably just preparation for the king to take residence, and like I said, in a few weeks, a few rides.
Huh. This doesn't feel like preparation to me. Smells like something went wrong.
I'm sure I couldn't say anything about that, sir. Is there anything else that you need while you're in town? I'd be happy to get you. There are guides that can show you around the city, or if there's if you need lodgings, then I can provide you with a list of a couple of different places. If you're looking for entertainment, you are definitely in the right spot. He's very clearly trying to divert the conversation away from where you're trying to drag it back. But he is, and he's doing a pretty good job of it. He's very, very clearly very affable and is good at his job. He's used to talking to people and giving the spiel, hyping up the city and all of the amazing things that can be found within. But he's very, very clearly uneasy about your line of questioning.
I'll slide a gold piece across the table and say, "Oh no, I'll just wait here. Another one of these though for my friend here." And I'll thumb over to the soldier I'm standing next to, and then I'll turn my back on the bar and kind of lean up against it next to my new buddy that I've decided I'm making.
He pauses for a second. He's about to put his hand over the gold piece until you say something about another round for your friend, the guard, and he hesitates for a second. He looks at the guard. The guard doesn't make any motion other than just to still kind of looking at you a little dubiously, but not. Maybe there's even a little bit of amusement on his face, but he's clearly not like he's not glaring. He's not staring daggers into you or anything. Like he's regarding you as something of a curiosity. But then the barkeep scoops up the gold coin and ferrets it away and returns a few moments later with 2 mugs that he places on the bar next to each other. Doesn't make any motion to slide it over to the soldier. He just puts the 2 directly next to each other.
Sure. I'll wait for the poor barkeep to depart from this conversation before I slide the mug over to the soldier next to me. I'll say, you all this holding the bar up and making sure all these miscreants don't do something rash has got to make you thirsty.
My thanks, stranger, but we're not allowed to drink on duty. You could have saved yourself some coin and just asked. But
I'm sure that's a real strict rule that maybe your betters don't follow as much as you do.
Make a charisma check.
Oh yeah, my best bet.
Yeah.
Let's do this. 2.
He very clearly does not take that the way that you would have liked. He was almost kind of smirking before, and the smirk kind of fades, and he frowns. I would caution you to perhaps not speak of things you have no knowledge of, stranger.
Yeah, that's something a friend of mine would have cautioned me about and failed to do so for maybe about the last 6 months. And I'll take a deep drink.
Perhaps you should listen to your friend's advice and perhaps move along. This is perhaps not the place for you. Perhaps you'll not find what you're looking for here.
We'll see about that. But I'll move away a little bit and give him some space.
What else are you gonna do?
I'm waiting to see.
You're just gonna wait.
This guy. The guy was going to ask. Somebody's going to ask the manager about.
Right.
Arctic.
Right. Yeah. So about a minute or 2 after you wrap up your conversation with the with the guard, the host will say, comes back over and he says, the friend you're talking about, the friend that you met here last night, he has instructions for his tab to be sent to the Dusty Duchess, which is a tavern, an inn over in the Old Town district. I can have a carriage brought for you if you like, or perhaps just directions if you're looking to try to find him there, or if you'd like for us to charter a courier for you, you can have a message sent over. It would probably take about a half an hour for him to make the trip, and then maybe a half hour to return. In the meantime, our noon feast will be out within the next little bit. If you'd like to stick around.
No, directions will be fine.
Splendid. Well, let me get those written down for you, and I'll have them brought to your table. Is there anything else that I can provide to you with our compliments?
That's it.
Very good, sir. Then just please wait for just a few more moments, and I'll have those directions sent over to you immediately.
All right, while he's doing that, I'll finish off the first drink and wait.
Okay. Then we will shoot over to Alanere. Alanere, you come back to consciousness after having slept for or meditated, whatever you are deciding to do, for a little while. You don't exactly have an alarm set. You're tired, and you would normally wake with the dawn, but since it was well after dawn before you went to sleep, you just go to sleep for a little bit, and then you wake up a few hours later. You are almost immediately aware, just because of how in tune you are with the region and area and just nature in general, that it is close to noon. But it is dark in your room. Sun is directly overhead. Your window kind of faces out to the east, and sunlight is still filtering down into your room, but it is a little more difficult for you're getting just with the press of buildings around and everything. Your window is kind of in shadow at the moment, and so your room is a little darker than it is during the mornings. It will get progressively darker as the day goes on. The sun moves to the other side of the sky, so you're able to chart pretty much on first glance that it is about noon. Also, there is someone in your room.
Can I see who it is, or make out, or I guess,
Mhm.
do I sense someone in my room, or do I actually see them?
You sense the presence of another person in your room with you. You basically open your eyes and these things occur to you. Oh, I'm awake. It's okay. It's dark in here. That means it's noon or later. It feels about like noon. Wait a second. Something's not quite right. Someone else is here.
Oh. Man, I'm gonna try and take a glance around my room without making it obvious that I'm up and awake. Just kind of glance around with my eyes while I'm not really moving my head. Just kind of take a glance of what's in my surroundings and if I can see anything.
Okay. In your room, you've got the bed, which you're laying on. You got an end table or a nightstand type table that is is directly next to your bed. A chest of drawers or a wardrobe or something where you can put your things. And across the room, directly across the bed, or across from the bed, is an overstuffed, big, plush, kind of like an armchair. And there is a figure that is draped across the armchair. But that's all you see. Is you just see that there is a figure that is just kind of reclining, legs kind of up over the arm of the chair on one side, and body just kind of sprawled out over the chair. Yeah, that's it. There's just someone that's just kind of sprawled across your chair.
As I don't really know who it is or what their plan is, I want to kind of almost kind of almost jump up out of bed and cast Produce Flame just to create light.
Okay. So you hop up out of bed and you quickly rattle off the incantation for your spell, and flame leaps into. existence around your hand, and it shines light in the room and over the figure, which is a woman who is dressed in kind of dark leathers. Her head is kind of back over the back of the chair, almost as though she's sleeping or that she's just kind of reclining in the chair. A kind of a matted mass of dark red, like auburn hair. Her eyes are open and sightless. Her face is pale, and there's a nasty gash across her throat, and blood is just soaking her chest, the chair itself, and
God.
is pooling in the floor. She does not react at all, the queen, when you rise up and your flame ignites in the room.
Oh, crap. I am going to use my produce flame to basically, I guess, light any candles or anything that might be in the room.
Okay. Yeah, so that's not an issue. There are probably a cluster, maybe like a candle holder that is very ornate, very expensive looking. Can be used for exactly that purpose, for like reading at night or casting light in an otherwise dark room. Not an issue at all.
And then immediately run over, and I want to check on the figure.
Okay. It is very clearly a fresh corpse, still bleeding, from still kind of oozing blood. Has been dead for some time, but still blood still oozing from the very garish, very gaping wound on her throat. And you can actually hear the patter of droplets of blood that are still falling, probably running down her hand, her limp hand that is kind of hanging off the side of the chair, and it's dripping into the floor.
Oh, wow. Someone's not sending me a message. I don't know what is happening. Crap. In
checking the body, are you going to touch her?
Yes.
Okay.
Like he's trying to find obvious signs, or I guess to like factual of like, yeah, most certainly dead, or
she's very absolutely dead. Like
it's one of those things where he's in shock, so he's like,
yeah. So you
basically going to like, is she really dead?
Yeah. So you start feeling over her, looking for a pulse, or looking for any warmth at all. She's cold to the touch. As you're kind of panicking a little bit, you feel your heart start to race. You can hear your heartbeat in your ears. There is suddenly a tightness against your wrist as she reaches out and grabs your wrist, and you bolt upright in bed. The room is completely dark. It is much later than noon. You have slept for much, much longer. Your heart is still racing. It is completely dark in your room, but you can tell with your dark vision the chair across the room is empty. And we're going to go to Sprout. Sprout, you are muted, I think.
Hot damn, wow.
We're good.
You awaken a short time later, after having had a long and restful sleep. You hear you awaken to a tapping on your door. Just a very gentle
rapping.
At,
would say it
at the
chamber door.
Tap,
tapping at your chamber door.
Oh, I get
Nevermore.
visited by the ghosts of Alakar's past. I am not going to be happy. I will muffle myself out of bed, and I will walk over to the door, and I will crack the door open a little bit and see who is there.
Oh, hello. You slept a bit longer than you said. I didn't know if I should wake you or not. It's Muckleberry. I kind of got a little. Well, it's a long story, really. Well, they just got so much good stuff downstairs, and I really just kind of lost track of time. Not sure what time it is. I'm a bit deep in my cups. But well, it's gonna be getting dark outside pretty soon, and I figured you'd probably want to know.
Thank you, Muckleberry.
You okay in there?
I'm of the sleepiest of natures. Do you sleep?
Oh, sure. When it's nighttime. Though you did. I'm pretty sure I caught a bit of a cat nap downstairs between courses. But if you're offering,
I'm surprised you had time to sleep between your courses.
Oh, sure. That's one of the things I'm real good at. If the surface I'm on is relatively flat and not entirely covered in worms or rats, then I'm perfectly okay with getting a few winks, and with such good food and good drink, well, and a nice roaring fire, it's very difficult. They had music downstairs a bit earlier. I think he's gone now, but well, it's just about time for even feast. If you'd like to come down and join me, but if you're all right with it, I might. Well, if it's I don't want to impose, but if I could borrow your room for a bit here, I could just park myself on the chair there and get me some rest. Just 40 winks or so.
40 winks, is that all you need? That's fine.
Maybe after dinner.
I'll open the door and let him come in, and he's like, why don't you take some rest, take your 40 winks, and then you can join me for dinner. And I will come back to acquire you.
Maybe after.
Okay.
Maybe after dinner, because they're putting it on downstairs right now. You really did sleep a real good portion of the day. By the way, you did achieve a long rest.
Okay.
So you can remove your exhaustion and any wounds or spell slots that you had used. Alanere, the same goes for you. You also managed to get a long rest. You didn't intend to, but you managed to.
Oh, okay.
It was forced upon you. Okay. I'll let him know that I need to get myself cleaned up a little bit, and I will walk over to a sink of some sort. I'm assuming there's one in my room.
A basin and a pitcher of water. It's probably lukewarm by now, but it'll serve.
That'll work. I'll walk over, pour a little bit into the basin, then I'll splash my face. I will brush my hair back a little bit, and then I will go downstairs to join Muckleberry. Prior to joining him at a table, I'll direct him to grab a table, and I want to go over and talk to the barkeep for a minute.
Okay. But before you get that far, go ahead and make me a Constitution saving throw.
Ooh, yay. My saving throws at. That would be a 19.
Okay. You are kind of fumbling around in the dark a little bit. You close the door. Muckleberry says he'll head down and get the table secured and dig in, and make sure that we've got drinks and everything. You start pouring the water into the basin, and you are washing your face. You get a weird sensation. We'll say a weird smell. Make me a perception check. 22.
It'll be a 22.
You know that smell. It is
I did.
coppery, kind of sickly sweet. And then you realize all at once that the water is warmer than it should be. And you look down and your hands are red. And you have this weird taste in your mouth. And you realize that you look down in the basin and it's just dark. This
That's
is not
no
water.
bueno. It is dark outside, yes?
It is dark outside, yes. You have the light of whatever candles or anything that you have in the room itself. Maybe a little bit of light filtering in through the partially open door that Muckleberry left open.
I will light any other candles, lanterns, etc. that might be in the room so that I can more fully see if there's anything else.
Okay. So you look.
Oh, God.
You rush around and you light the candles and you bring it over and you look down in the bowl. Pure water. Clear as the winter sky. You look down at your hands. They're wet, but they're clean.
I will slap myself hard just to ensure that I'm awake or asleep.
You smack yourself and your ears ring a little bit and you get that feeling of just that stinging feeling in your cheek, and you instinctively close your eyes as you do so. As you smack yourself, and when you open them, you're standing face to face with a furbolg. Looks very much like you, in fact, but is very clearly dead. His jaw hangs open, most of his beard torn away. His eyes are milky white. His nose is probably split, as though he took a wound across the face. One of his ears is missing, and he exhales into your face. What do you do?
I step back in shock.
Knock the bowl off of the pedestal that it was on. It clatters to the floor. Very fortunately, not just a porcelain bowl, probably a wooden, very ornate, but a wooden, sturdy bowl. It clatters to the floor, splashes water all over. You look down at it. You look up at the figure that was just directly in your face, and it's gone. He's no longer there. You hear the bowl rattling around, just as it rolls to a stop, spins to a stop. Your foot's wet. Probably your pant leg is wet. Heart's beating really fast.
Can't imagine why. Do I smell or see anything else?
Maybe a perception check. Again.
That's a 13.
Nothing. Nothing at all. You're alone in a mostly dark room, lit by candlelight. Your leg and foot are wet. You're standing in a puddle of water that you just freshly put on the floor. It is slowly running through, maybe very slowly running through the floorboards and maybe dripping down on someone below. But you were otherwise alone. Candlelight flickers, cast shadows that are odd, seeming somehow malevolent in your kind of shocked reaction. But you seem alone.
Do I have my sword on me?
If you want to.
I want to, very much so.
So you grab Rift Razor from wherever it was resting, whether that was on your body or otherwise. Grab it, pull it out of its sheath. It hums as it leaves its scabbard. You feel the cold, the reassuring warmth of the blade, and there's a little ghostly flicker of the purple light that always accompanies it whenever you pull it out, as the blade just gently thrums with magical energy.
I grip it extremely tightly, to the point where my hand starts to turn white as the blood leaves my hand, and I will forcefully push it into its sheath, and I will, with great haste, walk out of the room, ignoring everything else, and I will walk downstairs, breathing deeply.
Okay. Thoros'l, you get your directions to the Dusty Duchess, and you're out the door. Well, I assume. I don't want to say for you.
Yeah, I'll make sure that I've got 2 of these beers, right? So I'll pick up one of them and hand one of them to a guard near the door, and say, "He sent this for you," and then walk out. Point to my other buddy.
He takes it and looks at it very questioningly, and looking around, and you brush past and are gone before you really have an opportunity to before he has an opportunity to really react to it. Otherwise, you're making your way down the stairs, back down to the floor of the city, to the ground level. And what are you gonna do? Make your way over
Heading to the Dusty Duchess. Yep.
Okay. It's a good bit afternoon by this point, I'm sure. It's taking you a little while to get through town. You make your way into kind of the crowded marketplace as you're moving through Coinholm district. That is dominated by the marketplace, and so is that section of Old Town that you're headed to. You can't help but go through the very large marketplace square that literally dominates the entire southwest section of Coinholm and most of the eastern section of Old Town. The guards, you don't see any additional army as you continue your walk. You do see the usual allotment of gold helms as you move through the city, and they're patrolling as they normally do. The city is alive with activity. It's very easy, even with your very finely honed senses, to just kind of let all of the noise and the bustle of the city kind of slip into the background. What are you thinking about as you're moving through the city?
My thoughts are on the previous encounter with that red-haired assailant. Keeping an eye out for them as I'm moving through, and just also kind of pondering what's going on in the Palace district, on Palace Hill as a whole. That's, to Thoros'l, that's kind of the big question that we're not, for some reason, trying to answer. So he's looking for those answers. So he's running through scenarios maybe, and keeping an eye out for that red-haired individual.
Okay. Make me a perception check. As you are moving through, we'll say you've made it into the Old Town district, the Old Town half of the marketplace, and you're just kind of weaving through stalls, dodging pickpockets and avoiding the crowds of people, or maybe not avoiding, maybe just trudging right through the crowds of people, but navigating the press of the busiest section of the busiest city in the Bloodstone Kingdom.
All right. Oh, only 12. I rolled a 2.
Yeah, so that's not great. Okay. So as you continue to move through, you're struck by just how many people there are. Like, this is by far the largest city that you've ever spent any real time in. And you start thinking about just how many, like, winter is going to be arriving very swiftly. You're in you're in the Forgotten Realms equivalent of October right now, and nearing the end of October. Winter is maybe the beginning of winter is maybe 3-4 weeks away. Usually arrives a little bit before the High Harvest Tide, or sorry, the High Harvest Tide holiday, which is at I'm gonna get this wrong. Hang on just a second while I confirm. It is loading. Yeah, High Harvest Tide. No, it's Feast of the Moon. Feast of the Moon is the holiday that falls between the 11th and 12th month, and is for most of the world the kind of the herald or the first little bit of winter. Generally speaking, winter arrives 2 or 3 rides before Feast of the Moon in the Bloodstone lands, just because the latitude that you're at, your proximity to the Great Glacier up to the north, it's just colder here. Your season, your warm season is a little shorter. So within a week or two, it's going to it's going to drop off. You can already feel that it's getting colder, and from having been around forever that cities like this, they tend to swell as the days get colder. And if you think that the press in this city is stifling now, wait until the cold season comes in and people from outside cities who are wintering, coming into urban areas to winter there where it's safer, where there's more people, where there's more resources. The city can easily grow by 50 to 75%, and so it's going to be a madhouse. And then you think about the fact that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of mercenaries that are perched, that are camped just outside in Flagwood/Hagwood. That's a new addition to the city that wasn't here, in years prior. You start thinking about it is going to get real in Heliogabalus within a very, very short time. And then you've got the celebration of the king coming in that is supposed to coincide with the Feast of the Moon in just 6 weeks or so, 5 weeks or so. It is it's going to be interesting in this city coming up. And as you're kind of going all of that and the things that have been kind of going through your mind as far as what's going on in the Palace District, what's going on with this person that shot at Eldrick, what's going on with Eldrick. I mean, he's been acting really strange of late, and all kinds of other things that are going on. You spot something, a somewhat familiar looking silver skull mask peering at you from in the crowd. There's a shock of, well, not a shock of hair, but like a fall of white cloak that kind of drapes as the skull mask kind of, you make, I'd say eye contact, but you spot the skull mask, and then it turns and kind of blends into the crowd, and the last thing you see is just this kind of fall of white, snowy white cloak as it disappears into the crowd.
I'm going to try to stalk that down. Okay. So I'll start pushing my way through a little bit and try to catch up.
Make me either survival or investigation as you're trying to keep up. You're trying to push through the crowd and get another glimpse of this figure as it kind of disappears into the crowd.
All right, a natural 20 for a 30 survival.
Natural 20, okay. You do spot it again, but it startles you at first, but you kind of start pushing your way through the crowd, and you catch another kind of sweep of this white cloak. You don't see the mask again, but you definitely see just kind of the swoosh of a cloak as it disappears kind of behind a big, bright red and white striped canopy that is one of these just countless market stalls. in the district, and it appears to be heading directly north. So you follow for a little bit. You get around to the corner where you saw it kind of dive in behind or kind of disappear behind, and you see it again. This time it's going through kind of like a little plaza that seemed to be like ringed with like these not marble but a very pale stone. You know, there's countless little parks and little I don't want to say gazebos, but like little clearings, little squares within the marketplace that are decorative, and there's some that have like meaning for like the city's inner runnings. But you're kind of moving again, and the press is just monstrous. You're having to shove people or push very hard through the press of bodies as the crowd starts to react to you. And you're kind of getting rough with people as you're trying to push through and keep up. But as you kind of move around and you see the figure, it kind of stands in the center of this kind of plaza, and there's nobody else in the plaza. And it's ringed with these 12 statues. And it stops and it turns around and it holds your gaze for a second. And it raises a hand and gives you a salute that is familiar to you. It is the salute of the Devil's Own.
Oh, yes.
And then it turns and dashes out of sight again.
I don't know. I'm gonna give chase.
Okay.
Because I'm sick and tired of things getting away from me.
Okay. So you push. Again, you're just pushing and pushing through crowds. Your strength is enough, and you rolled a natural 20 on your tracking. So I'm going to say that you don't have any difficulty kind of navigating through the crowd and getting to the last known location that you saw this figure. You make it into this small kind of plaza. It's maybe 20 feet across. It's like a circular plaza. It's like cobblestone, brilliant white stone. There's like an insignia or something written on each of the individual stones. They make up this big circular plaza, and there are 12 statues that are ringing the plaza, and they're all looking inward. You don't recognize them, and you've probably seen them before, but you don't recognize them as anybody in particular, other than their regality makes you think that they're important people. Maybe like kings or something like that. You make a history check if you care, but otherwise,
no, I don't. I mean, if there's no names on a plaque, I'm not spending the time here.
Yeah,
moving
no, there's not at least within the immediate eye line, not something that you could just like stop and glance at, because by the time you reach that plaza, it's full again. Like people are weaving through it, and people will reach up and touch the statues, pat the statues or draw their hands across the statues as they move by. But if it's a gesture that means something, it doesn't really mean anything to you. But you pass through, and away from this plaza that there's this kind of this long pathway that on one side is kind of like a row of trees. It's like a small park. Like the plaza kind of gives way to a very small park. And it's no more than maybe 20 or 30 feet long, but there's a row of small like shrub-type trees that line one side, and beyond that is a kind of a streetway that it is kind of like railed on either side, just like a general section of normal street within the Old Town district, but it kind of has a little bit of an elevation. It goes up, and it's just the general ebb and flow, or the geography of the city, where the elevation rises in this part of the city just a little bit, and it kind of goes up on the other side of these trees and kind of circles around to what is another cluster of buildings over there, and kind of perched impossibly far away, given that it was only just seconds ago that you saw the figure in this plaza that you're now standing in. Impossibly far away, probably 2 blocks away from where you are right now, atop a building that is up over the small stand of little shrub trees, and on the other side of this kind of walk, this gilded or this gilded railed walkway that kind of goes up the side of this little incline. There's a stand of buildings within that section of the city that are more like towers, really. They're like circular, just a small cluster of 3 or 4 circular towers, and at the top of one of those towers is a balcony, and you see the figure there again.
Is it like watching me, or is it poised to?
No, it very, very clearly is standing, waiting for you to notice it.
All right. Well, I'm going to kind of stand there. I'll draw my sword and salute back at the figure.
Okay. You feel a touch on your as you're holding the sword. Which sword are you gesturing with? I want to ask.
The flare sword, of course.
Of course. So you gesture with your right hand, and with the sword, you feel a touch on your left arm. It's more than just a touch. Like, it's not just somebody nudging you as they go by. It's somebody puts a hand on your arm and squeezes.
Well, who's there?
You turn to see who it is, and you see a lily white hand, and goes back to a large, voluminous white cloak, and within the cloak is in the cowl of the cloak is a skull mask, and a long fall on one side of the head, a long fall of dark hair. And the figure looks up as you turn to face it, and you can see within behind the skull mask, you see very pale blue eyes, and you hear Sophia's voice say, "Wake up." That really should have worked. Wake up.
I mean, can I wake up?
No, you can't.
Okay.
So you're standing there staring into the face, in the skull masked face of your daughter, and she's shouting at you, "Father, wake up." And nothing's happening. And you can still hear the press of the city around you. People are moving through and around you. You get bumped on one side as somebody is brushing past. You get bumped again, and as you're standing there, you're looking down at your daughter, and she's just shouting at you over and over, "Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!" And
I'll cast about, confused, looking for answers, looking for any differences around me.
the flare sword starts to squirm in your hand.
And what do you want? I'll ask it.
"It's time," it says. "I must feed. Feed me."
You'll eat whenever I tell you can.
"Wake up!"
I don't answer to you.
"Feed me. Feed me, Thoros'l. Wake up, Father!" And it's just this cacophony of one voice shouting into your mind and the other voice shouting into your ears. And you start to feel a presence in your body. Start to insinuate itself into your mind. I need you to make me a wisdom saving throw.
13.
You feel your hand clutching the flare sword begin to rise into a position to strike.
I will not let it. I'm going to drop it if I have to.
Your hand clutches hard on the hilt of the blade, and against the red wall of anger that you try to raise against this thing anytime that it is previously attempted to insinuate its thoughts over your own. It feels a very small and feeble thing for some reason this time. You start to feel the writhing of the tentacles as the hilt of the sword actually begins to wrap the tentacles around your wrist and your fist, and the two tentacles that make up the blade begin to start to writhe, and you hear "Wake up!" as you drive the sword into the breast of your daughter. And she begins to fall, and you hear this almost like a laugh in your mind, but it's more voracious than that. It's not a cackle, it's not a laugh, it's more like an animal that is feasting with gusto as the blade begins to de-solidify, I guess, and turn fully into a writhing mass of purplish black tentacles, and it starts to spread out from the wound that it has just inflicted on your daughter's chest and fully engulf her in tentacles. That is at the point that you will wake up.
Yeah, great.
And
perfect timing.
There, and the same iron grip of the that you felt on your right wrist as you were being held by the sword and forced to do this thing, you still feel that. And you wake up, you start, and you realize that both of your wrists are being held. And there are two Bloodstone army soldiers that are attempting to haul you up out of a chair. And they're shouting, "Hold him! He's dangerous! We have to get him out of here!" And you find that you are in the tap room of the Starry Night, and two of the Bloodstone soldiers, including the one that you were talking to at the bar, are looking down at you, very pale-faced, very, very stone-faced, and they're holding on, trying to wrestle you down to the ground. And they're shouting at you, "Wake up! Wake up!" And that's where we are going to end tonight's session.
Oh man, I was wondering when the nightmares were gonna get us.
Yep, they got us.
You know what this means, though.
Thanks to everybody. Go ahead.
Eldrick can't sleep anymore.
Thanks to everybody who came out to enjoy this with us this evening. I hope that you had a good time. A little different tone for the episode than we are used to, but I hope it was good for everybody. Hopefully, we will be back next week on, that's not even the right day, is it? The 15th. But you know, who's to say? We've been a little bit spotty in our schedule of late. But hopefully, we would be happy if you join us next Tuesday on the 15th of August for the next chapter 19 or episode 19 of Bloodstone. If you're a fan of League of Legends, please join us on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week for, respectively, Era Apocalypse Friday Night Fights and Summoner Saturday. Very much looking forward to those. Hope you will join us, and otherwise, guys, have a great night. Good night.
Adios.